GM, we are live from my kitchen, which is still decorated for a 2-year-old's space-themed birthday. So if you see Mars or Jupiter come into view behind me, do not panic. That is all by design. I have not joined Emo Cowboy over at NASA. Nothing like that has occurred. This is far more juvenile than what they're working on over there. But just so you know, I've got in-laws and I'm all uprooted. But you know what? We're in the kitchen. We're drafting from kitchen, and that's got to be good. We're waiting for 2 in this BBM. Good morning to all of you. Thanks so much for coming and hanging out. Joel, GM to you. Thanks so much for popping in this morning. Likewise, Greg, GM's gang, big cut Tuesday. Stoked for some roster. Yes, we're going to see a lot of camp cuts come today. Probably a few surprises here and there. Probably some moves that we're expecting, but it's not going to be the end of movement because players that get cut, they don't just leave the league forever. Most of the time they wash up somewhere else, and that could disrupt other things. So don't mark yourself safe. If a player that is on the fringe of your, one of your big exposures is out on the fringe, it could still end up bad in the next few days as some of these camp cuts wash up in other places. Give or take 5 minutes. Absolutely not, Dirty P. We are on time today. Although I famously been late a few times. Not today. Even though we're in a kitchen. Yes, I said we're waiting for 5. I don't know. I brought my own comment up there. Time is a flat circle. Yes, that time is a flat circle from True Detective. And I remember having, I hadn't watched True Detective. I saw it like years after it came out. And my friend asked like, have you seen, the episode where time is a flat circle? And I'm like, no, like, why? Like, don't spoil things for me. And then he goes, oh. And then like a day later, he's like, well, have you gotten to the one where time is not a flat circle? So I spent the rest of the series thinking like there was going to be some revelation that time was not a flat circle. That never came. I'm easily fooled, guys. This is the moral of that story there. Best ball on call, GM kitchen candles. Yes. We have, I actually do have some scented candles. I probably could have, I don't even know what flavor this is, but maybe, we're still looking for a sponsor here on the Chad Candles YouTube network, but maybe a candle company will come on in. It's Barry, GM to you. Thanks so much for coming in and hanging out. You're maxed. Awesome. I hope you're happy with your exposures. I have some envy of the people that maxed the contest early because so many of the guys we like in the 20th, or excuse me, the 18th, 17th round are now in the 14th, 15th round. And depending on the room, it can get pretty dicey if you're like looking for a running back in the last round. I used to just click DJ Giddens if I had no one else and I felt really good. Now you can't always do that. Now you're kind of can end up scraping the bottom of the barrel depending on what position you have left. So we'll see. This year it did feel like the people that got in early did okay. There are some late clicks now that you can make that we weren't really making earlier. Malik Washington, I don't think we were comfortable making that click until we had a little clarity on him versus Westbrook-Ikhine. Jalen Lane, of course, maybe we're not as in on him now that the holdout has ended, but I think we all kind of knew the holdout would end. But in Jalen Lane, I think is still going to be involved. So a couple of 20th round receivers that nobody was clicking on before that if you want exposure, you can still get very late. Now, we took Malik Neighbors at the 9, and I don't think I see anybody here in the room, but if you are in here, let me know. So we'll go, we'll take Ashton Genty here at pick 16. That's a nice little fall there. We'll go Genty Neighbors. That's going to be a little bit uncommon. That's kind of tough to get. I guess this is something you'd see more at the turn at the 11, 12 hole than at the 9. So maybe we're not getting it in that great, but hopefully we can get some value at 33 and build a little unique 3-person combination. Greg, Estime got waived and airballed that one in pre-draft. Oof. I was out on Estime after Beatty played ahead of him in the playoffs. To me, people were trying to like wave that one away, saying it was like matchup related or something. But I'm like, if he doesn't trust him over Tyler Beatty in the playoffs, we're probably in a certain amount of trouble. And yeah, it stinks about Estime. I loved him last year. I had a ton of Estime and that didn't pay off. But hopefully hopefully he ends up. You see, Greg, maybe he ends up somewhere. Maybe Estime washes up somewhere. You never know. Kelly Lapidus, hey, hanging out with you this beautiful morning. Kelly, thanks so much for coming in and hanging out with us. Appreciate you joining us today. Greg said, watch him end up on the Dolphins and Messi. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes these camp cuts end up elsewhere and can, we're like, okay, our guy didn't get cut, and then they sign somebody that mucks with it. Al Boogie asking how many BBMs left? 18, including this one. So we're getting near the end. We're getting near the end. At least Underdog's been launching stuff to where if I do max this, I wasn't planning on doing the rest of mine on stream, but I've been saving them so I could stream them because I think people like. I don't think people mind watching puppies, but I think people generally kind of prefer the BBMs. So there's Rottweilers. Rottweilers, really fun. Same buy-in, $25, but a much more friendly advance rate and payout structure than BBM. Obviously, you're not going to win $2 million playing the Rottweiler, but if you I think all things being equal, if we're being conscientious about the bankroll, the Rottweiler is probably a better use of $25. But again, I think people are generally prefer watching the BBMs. Dirty P says candles are scented, not flavored. You're a fake candle. Uh-oh. I gotta go, guys. They're on to me. They're on to me there. I guess you would say scented candle, not flavored candle. It shows you how frequently I am lighting candles here. So Tyreek goes, that's a little unfortunate because that would have been a pretty nice fall to get him at 33. I'm going to take the semi-falling Garrett Wilson. He has been plummeting, but I think again earlier with Genty Neighbors, that would have been a tougher combination to add Garrett Wilson. So I'm going to make that pick more for uniqueness and the fact that I'm not afraid of the Garrett Wilson FUD. I know there are people who seem worried about the Jets offense. I don't know if they're going to be world beaters, but I think they're going to have some pretty big spike week games, super concentrated offense. So we'll make that bet. We'll see what comes around the turn for us. Jaden Daniels goes. So there goes our chance at elite QB. I'm inclined to just take Mike Evans here. This is a nice little ADP value here on that. And, with the wide receiver injuries, I'm actually surprised Evans hasn't been a little bit of a riser. We're all Igbuka pilled. I mean, he has been screaming up draft boards. But the fact of the matter is that I think Mike Evans, at least early in the season, is an absolute smash. Certainly some concerns that he might not make it the full year, but I can't play like that. I can't just fade guys because I think they might get hurt. I don't think that's a good way to play BBM. Jake Vinegar, you got to get in these 1Q streets. See, I missed the 1Q version 1, and I thought that was over, so I didn't put any effort into it. And now they launched another one, but I think that's a fantastic contest. I think it's an edge. I mean, people are drafting Ayuk and Judkins and Godwin in there, so right away you have people taking dead roster spots. And if you're willing to look up what teams have the best, projected team totals, I think the Vegas lines are going to be much more accurate for week 1 than week 17. I said this before a couple streams ago, but I think that's a contest where if you're willing to grind, you can actually find a good edge. I just, again, have not had the time to devote to that. So I don't want to just like vibes-based draft the 1Q stuff when I know I'm not getting it in is good there. Artillery Frost, GM to you. Thanks so much for coming in and hanging out with us this morning. Greg says Jason Sanders could be out 5 to 6 weeks. The hits keep coming in Dolphin World. Yes. Yeah. If you have a fantasy draft, don't take Jason Sanders. Well, don't take Jason Sanders anyway. I don't know how fruitful the Dolphins kicker is going to be this season, but he's missing 5 to 6 weeks there. All right. So for the audio listeners, we've got Neighbors, Genty, Garrett Wilson, and Mike Evans. Pick 57. We should be able to get a decent enough running back here, but if DJ Moore were to come to us at pick 57, I would have a hard time passing on that. Otherwise, if Moore goes, Jalen Waddle is intriguing. There's a chance if we did that, though, we would have to pull up a running back a little ahead of ADP if this Kamara, Harvey, Connor range all go. So I'm just deciding what's more important to me. Let's take Jalen Waddle. The vibe in Miami is not great, but there is a chance that, if Tyreek is moved, then Waddle is an absolute smash there. And I think Waddle is fine, even if Tyreek is there. But if A-Chain misses time, but like maybe they lean on the passing game more. So I'll take the shot on that. Of course, all the running backs I was interested in did go. So I have to decide, do I want DeAndre Swift? Do I want to take Pacheco or Pollard? I think that's the route I'd go. I'm not very excited about Swift, to be perfectly honest with all of you guys. I could also take Rashee Rice because I don't need him early. Or I don't actually, Rashee Rice is going to be there early. So I'll take that back. But let's get Pacheco on the team. I think that's, you know, I think I'm okay with that. Did I get it in good with Pacheco? No, because early on in BBM, you would be getting him, at the 7-8 turn rather than here in the 6th. But again, I can't just scratch guys off the list because people are going to get it in slightly better than me. Ant Xfall tank for Archie. Yeah, I remember tank for Tua before he had that hip injury, and was so happy when he was a Dolphin. And I still like Tua. I think he's perfectly fine. But I getting Archie Manning does seem like the kind of thing that can like save a franchise, and could be ours. It could be ours. Lutz, GM to you. Thanks so much for coming in and hanging out this morning. So yeah, I would be interested if what people would have done there. I certainly am sympathetic to have taken Rice there, but the way that running backs have gone at this, pick 81 and 88, it's gotten pretty thin. It's gotten pretty thin there. Losing Judkins, with us now a little sketched out about Caleb. It's no longer a range where I really want to be relying on a running back coming to me. Mason and Jones have kind of moved up into that area, so I guess they would be fine picks if that's the route that we end up going there. Swish Sanders, GM, good to finally catch a stream from Mr. Candles. Hey, Swish Sanders, thanks so much for coming in. I'm glad to finally have you here. I appreciate you coming in and hanging out. Ant Xball, that day broke my heart. Imagine drafting Justin Herbert one pick after Tua. Yeah, I do remember that there were Dolphin fans who were legitimately angry that the rumor was we were taking Herbert, which says like fans don't always know what they're talking about. Because I'm a Dolphins fan, so I have a lot of, Dolphin fans friends. And one of them was just like, I'm done with this team. If we take Herbert, that guy stinks. And it's like, we'd probably be in a little better shape if we had Justin Herbert. But, that's, again, I think Tua is fine. I think Tua is perfectly serviceable, and he does what McDaniel needs him to do well enough. So we see Mason go ahead of Aaron Jones. That's a little bit uncommon, I would say. But all right, Aaron Jones goes immediately after. So let's see what the room is giving to us. Mahomes is here, but I don't know if I really want to go Mahomes Pacheco, and Mahomes goes anyway. This range of receiver has gotten pretty thin. I guess I'm happy to just kind of punt and take Laporta. And then if we want to take something like a Pittman or a Baker Mayfield next pick, we can do that. Gone are the days where you could take Igbuka here at pick 81 and then double stack Evans and Igbuka. That was a nice time. But those days are over. Tyler, howdy, GM to you. Thanks so much for coming in. I was mentioning before you got here that I'm still decorated for my son's birthday party, and it was space themed. So I'm sure you were quick to recognize the celestial bodies behind me, famously working for NASA, Tyler. So I guess I could have come and said I was decorated for you, hoping you'd come by the stream. But that I got to be honest. Unfortunately, this was here already, whether you were coming in or not. All right, so let's see. Do we want to do Baker? Or do we want to take like a Warren or Pittman? I think I'm inclined to take Jalen Warren, being that Pacheco as a running back too feels perhaps a little thin, and I am pretty into Warren, especially if I've cooled on Caleb. I think somebody is going to be good in the running back room in Pittsburgh, and there's a pretty good chance that we're looking at Jalen Warren at pick 88. As we were taking him hand over fist last year, and it didn't pay off. So hopefully this year goes better. Tyler, big. My stream just almost died there. All right. Yeah. It was a fun party. Who played the Hubble telescope? You know what? we're a James Webb telescope, Tyler. So I appreciate you. Please update your priors on your space telescopes. I think it's James Webb. Anyway, all right. Let me get the music going here. Let me get the music. This room kind of echoes, so I hope the acoustics aren't absolutely awful. All right, so for the audio listeners, we've got a 0-3-4-1 with Genty, Pacheco, and Jalen Warren. Wide receiver room of Malik Neighbors, Garrett Wilson, Mike Evans, and Jalen Waddle. And Sam Laporta holding it down at tight end. All right, let's pull the board up, see what's going on. A big run on tight ends here in round 8 with Warren. He's risen quite a bit up to pick 91. And then Hawkinson, Kelsey, and Andrews all going back to back to back there. I think for us, we are going to target a quarterback. If we're lucky enough to get Baker, we'll take him at 105, but I would be surprised to see him come all the way back to us. I imagine the Ibuka drafter somewhere over here, and most people don't have a quarterback yet, so be surprised if he comes back. If he does, we'll take him. If not, I would love Justin Fields. He would make sense with Garrett Wilson. Otherwise, ultimately, we're going to probably try to get Tua on this team. Jared Goff, of course, is another possibility. So quarterbacks are getting kind of pushed in this room, which is interesting. We might get a chance to double tap quarterback around the turn, which we definitely can do now that we've got 3 running backs, 4 receivers. So we see Baker does go to the Ibuka drafter, which of course we cannot fault them for taking them. There goes Purdy. So I'm going to queue up Fields. I think he'd be my preferred pick. Godwin's been a big faller. He's going to start the year on PUP. All right, Tyler says, I knew I'd be actually done well over Hubble, but I didn't think the general public cares enough to know the newer one. Sorry, Tyler. I couldn't resist it. But I grew up with the Hubble telescope. I remember being devastated when they had to fix it because they had to replace one of the mirrors, or maybe they got grease on it. I don't know what happened, but I remember when they took the first pictures from the Hubble, it was blurry. I'm sure that gave the flat earthers an absolute field day. They're like, oh no, they got to update the software, keeping us down. But all right, we got Justin Fields on the team. Let's see what comes around. We're out on Mixon. I love Scatabo, but I don't think I need. Christian Kirk's an interesting pick. I don't mind getting him. There's a lot of good receivers in this range. I'm just deciding if I need Goff. Luther Burden goes. Let's take Shaheed and let's go more towards a later quarterback situation. I mean, Goff is fine, but I don't necessarily love the Goff Laporta skinny stacks. They feel like a very narrow path to getting there. I also have some opportunity to do an Aaron Rodgers back stack late. I think he makes a ton of sense with Pittsburgh. With Jalen Warren. I think there's going to be a lot of dump offs there. All right, Eddie Perez says, "What up, Chad? We're 9 days away from our best ball teams are live. What do we think the leaders make themselves? What week do we think the leaders make themselves known in their pod?" I'm not sure. Do you mean like the people victory lapping on Twitter? Because that's gonna happen. That's gonna happen right away. I feel like that happens right away, and it happens for like 2 to 3 weeks, and then it cools off until like week 10 and 11. But yeah, I don't know. Or do you mean like when can you really like get excited that you're gonna separate? Because last year, I remember early on, if you had stacked the Saints, you thought you were like going to Valhalla. And it went south real fast for us. Had to do it to him, Tyler. No, again, I appreciate it, and I appreciate you coming in and hanging out. Swiss Sanders looks like a great team to have both New York quarterbacks. Yeah, this could definitely be a Jackson Dart coded team. Very, very interesting to me that the quarterbacks are really getting pushed in this room. I don't know if that's like a new meta. I mean, if Jared Goff comes to me at 129, I definitely consider that. Kincaid wouldn't be bad. If I do Kincaid, then I could end this team at 2. tight ends and then push that. But yeah, this is a pretty big fall for Goff. Especially, I've got the St. Brown drafter over here at the 12. So if I want Goff, I got to take him now. But that might be true for if I want Kincaid, I got to take him now. Let's take Kincaid. Let's look at making this just a two tight end team with Kincaid and Laporta. If somehow Goff comes all the way back to me again, I will take him there. Otherwise, we're going to figure something else out at QB. Mario Douglas, Romeo Dobbs, a few different options here. Let's take some Romeo Dobbs. I think he's I'm just looking at my other options here. You know what? No, we're going to take Dylan Sampson. Let's take Dylan Sampson. Let's get another running back in the room. He's a guy that was kind of cool on early in the year, but I'm very out on Judkins. I actually autoed him in a DK Millie this morning because I forgot I had registered and I got busy, and I was not very happy about that. I really am out on Judkins. So let's take Dylan Sampson here. Again, we've had a few picks that we did not get it in the best. Sampson at 136, Pacheco at 64. Those are guys that have risen quite a bit, but again, I don't think you can scratch those guys off. That does not make sense to me. Swish Sanders, Goff has been dropping like a stone. Very weird. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why. I guess the normies have learned that their OC left and they're scared like that. All the institutional knowledge left with it. I don't know. I had somebody in my home league say that they didn't like JMO because Ben Johnson had left, and I'm like, yeah, but the new staff loves him. Like I'm actually more excited about some of these things, but we'll see. Swish Sanders. He's dropped like 2 rounds of multiple of my drafts yesterday. Yeah, I mean his ADP is at 119, and I think it was in the mid hundreds. Like I think he's down about 10 spots from in a few weeks if I remember right. Kind of interesting to see him falling as much as he had. And yeah, 132. That's a pretty crazy drop for me. Eddie Perez. I mean, people advancing from their pods. A lot of my first place teams were up by 100 plus week 4 or 5 and never lost. I have to imagine, Eddie, that a lot of that was because all the smashing running backs stayed healthy. Like I think had Henry or Saquon gotten hurt, we wouldn't have seen that. So I think to answer that is going to be very health related and is going to be kind of hard to predict. So I don't know, but yeah, I mean, if we have a pretty good year as far as injuries, like I feel like last year there were some bad injuries, but I feel like overall it wasn't like we've had really catastrophic years. I mean, Rashee Rice, of course, was terrible, and CMC never got off the ground, but it wasn't just like the Armageddon of elite players getting hurt. So I don't know. That's a good question, but I think that's going to be more injury dependent than anything else. Let's take Tua here. I think that just makes a ton of sense. We'll stack up Waddle on the team, and then we're going to look to add a third quarterback to the mix. Again, could that be a late Jackson Dart? Absolutely. The Raiders did add Amari Cooper. I don't know if that really makes me nervous about Thornton or not. I do imagine Thornton's going to drop a little bit. I have to think that there's going to be a little bit of FUD on that. Now, whether that drop is warranted is a different question, because I think the answer to that is no. I don't think that really changes Thornton's outlook, but obviously opinions may vary on that. If we are truly going to take Dart, then Wandale does make sense, although you can get Slayton late, and I don't think I want Slayton and Wandale because I don't know if I really want a Giants triple stack. Let's see what running backs are here. They have gotten, the running back landscape has gotten so thin. It has gotten so thin here. All right, let's take Wandale with the idea that this will be a Jackson Dart team. We've got Fields and Tua. We can add in, we can afford to take a shot on Jackson Dart. Could I have taken a Naked Young or Geno, or tried to before I took who did I take? I guess I took Tua, so I couldn't have done Geno and Thornton. That wouldn't have made any sense, I don't think. But now, just looking at the different options we have there, If something like a Bryce Young comes back to me at 177, okay, he's not because he went at 162. I was going to say I probably wouldn't pass on Dart there. Is this a little risky? Could one of these guys take Jackson Dart because of how good he looked in the preseason? Yes. But my hope is that, with me having both Robinson and Neighbors, I'm unlikely to have, you can't just do a Wandale Dart instant stack over here. So I think taking that off the board makes it a little more likely Dart will come to us. But again, people are going to do what people are going to do. All right, Tim 1387. Thanks so much for coming in, hanging out. Lions are going to be chucking the ball all over the yard, similar to the Bengals, just yards after yards. Yeah, that's I think that offense is going to be fantastic. I mean, play in a dome, have a great playoff schedule. I mean, I guess, if you want to nitpick playing the Steelers in week 16, I'm not really too afraid of that game. I mean, I think the Steelers, if anything, that makes me more bullish on the Steelers being a good week 16 piece, having to keep pace with the Lions. I think that's kind of a underrated part of some of these cheap Steelers that you can get. Tyler says, I don't mind the JMO FUD. Prior to the rave reviews in camp, Ben Johnson was awesome. More worried about the offensive line losses recently. Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things that like normie football never worries enough about, is like O-line changes, because that can just like completely change how effective an offense is. So that is a worry, I guess. But we're going to be dealing with like wonky offensive line stuff all season. So I don't know. I'm just going to take Jackson Dart here, because if I don't get this stack, I'm going to be a lot more annoyed than if I don't get like Will Shipley here. So let's take Jackson Dart on the team. I think we'd like to add one more, a running back here. Shipley, Mitchell, both of those are fun. I like DJ Giddens. No longer taking Garendo. Chris Rodriguez's would probably be my final option in this range. But yeah, it has thinned out quite a bit. Harold Fandon, of course, he used to go undrafted. Now he's going in the 16th round. If I was taking a third tight end, he'd probably be in consideration. But I think we're just going to stop at Laporta and Kincaid on this team and try to build out the skill positions there. Chris Rodriguez, another undrafted guy in most of this contest, goes there again, also in pick 16. So this guy's took Woody Marks and Chris Rodriguez. So we've got a true blind seal among us. So let's take Will Shipley. I think he makes a ton of sense. So for the audio listeners, we've got a 3-5-6-2 with Justin Fields, Tua, Jackson Dart, Ashton Genty, Isaiah Pacheco, Jalen Warren, Dylan Sampson, Will Shipley, Malik Neighbors, Garrett Wilson, Mike Evans, Jalen Waddle, Rashid Shaheed, Wandale Robinson, Sam Laporta, and Dalton Kincaid. So don't mind the way this team's coming out. I think it seems kind of fun. All right, let's see. Go AZ Cards, only 27% Scatabo in BBM. I thought you were a Scatabo truther. Yeah, it's a lot of Scatabo. It is a lot of Scatabo. It could be bad. It could really not be great. But you know what? We're gonna do our best here. You know what we'll do? Let's get another BBM. I'm gonna hop into it. I don't know if we're gonna be able to get 3. Oh, this one instant fired. So I apologize. I was gonna see if we could get people in here, but there it goes, and we've got the 5 hole. So I just I will keep it on this one, just so that we can round out the team and keep on going. Again, we're going to get off at 10 or before. We'll see how fast that other draft goes, if we have time for a third, or if we can do like this one where we fire it up with a couple picks left. I definitely overlapped too much in the last draft, and it was truly difficult to keep up with everything. But yes, goes AZ Cards. I am in a home league, and somebody took Scatabo at pick 80, and it wasn't me, and I am distraught. I am distraught because these aren't ASU guys. These are just like these are not friends from that era, and so I didn't think anyone had even heard of Scatabo in this group, because like Breece Hall went at pick 18 in this league. Like, this is the most normie league you can imagine, and then Scatabo goes at pick 80, and I was just aghast, and I had to play it cool. I don't want them to know that I will trade anything for Scatabo, so I didn't say anything. But some trade offers are going to be sent out with haste here. Let's see the running backs. The running backs are bad. If we don't get Taj Brooks, you know what? Maybe Sean Tucker is a little more interesting. We've got a little Week 17 Dolphins thing. I think Sean Tucker has, you know what? No, it's Blake Corum. It's Blake Corum because he's a guy that I definitely need more of because I'm low on Kyron and I'm trying to mix in my late guys a little bit. So we'll take Blake Corum there, you know, rested with the starters. And then we'll queue up some receivers here. Maybe I should have taken Malik Washington first. I guess I kind of ran out of time and wasn't really thinking. Malik Washington, Roman Wilson, and Jalen Lane. Let's hopefully get one of those. Let me go over to this draft. I just autoed, or I have 7 seconds left, but we're gonna get Bijan, we're gonna get Bijan at 5, which seems pretty good. So let's do that. All right, so that draft is gonna start with Bijan, and we'll come back to this one and wrap it up over here. So for the audio listeners here, we've got Justin Fields, Tua, Jackson Dart, running back room of Genty, Pacheco, Warren, Dylan Sampson, Will Shipley chasing, and Blake Corum, Malik Neighbors, Garrett Wilson, Mike Evans, Jalen Waddle, Rashid Shaheed, Wandale Robinson, Sam Laporta, Dalton Kincaid, and hopefully Malik Washington rounds it out. I like this team. I actually think it's got some good stacks. We've got the Week 17 Genty versus the Giants. We've got the Dolphins versus Evans. We don't have anyone playing the Jets, but that's okay. They're kind of a one-off anyway. So yeah, I like this team. I think it came out pretty decent. Let's get to the other one. All right. We're 6 picks away, and we will pull up the board. We'll pull up the board. All right, there we go. So you can all see what's going on. Swish says, be scared of the Theo Johnson backstack. I think if I wanted another tight end on that team, I would have, but I did want to round out the running back and receiver room. I feel like with Laporta and Kincaid, I'm comfortable ending at 2. I also, want to vary my build structure a little bit there. So, all right. So I think we're going to take A-Chain here. I think Bijan A-Chain is going to be pretty unique in this contest. A-Chain at pick 20 is quite a value. Bijan at pick 5. I think this is going to be a little bit uncommon. So again, let's hope we can land this plane here. Tyler says ATX Bearcat, time to shift back into taking tight ends or QBs late again. Yeah, I'm with you there, Tyler. It's gotten pretty thin there. Tyler says that's a lot of scat. Best Ball Bros, OBJ. Well, he could be among us. If we ended up with like Gilbert Arenas in this, I feel like OBJ is like, I don't know why I feel like they're kind of similar in my head, but they it seems like I could see OBJ drafting 5 quarterbacks in a row. Speaking of OBJ, someone took him in the 19th round of a DK draft last night. Yeah, there was that rumor that but I think the OBJ camp put out like, oh, we've been in contact with a lot of teams, which sounds like their agent sending Twitter DMs to like to team general managers. I don't know. I'm skeptical of that one. All right, let's see what Dr. Baggett 3 takes. Interesting name from this guy here. I'm definitely in the market for a wide receiver. I'd prefer probably Harrison over this clump. I don't know if I want to go robust RB, although it was tempting to take Omari and Hampton there and just really maybe go hyper fragile. I don't know if I love Hampton as my hyper fragile third. I feel like that's not quite what I want, but who knows? Maybe that is pretty good. But we'll take Marvin Harrison Jr. there. Would you trade Bill for Scatabo in that league? I would take the Scatabo side of that, but I'm also a not a reliable narrator there. Swiss Sanders, bad fantasy, taking one of my home leagues, took Egbuka at 104. Then I told my buddies, watch, I'll take Scatabo at the 110, and that's exactly what he did. Oh my God. I'm a little confused. He took him at, how did he have pick 4 and 10? I'm Swiss Sanders. I think I'm not understanding. That one there. Greg, yeah, it's I don't know what's going on in Swiss Sanders League, but it sounds like a good league to be part of. It sounds like it's a good league to join. I don't know if you mean in the 4th round and the 10th round. Oh, Dynasty Draft. Okay. Gotcha. Sorry, I missed picture. Okay. Sorry, I thought you meant just like a normal redraft league. And I'm like, that sounds that sounds not great. That sounds not great there. All right, so elite QB has dried up there with I guess Hertz is potentially a pick for us. It'll depend on the wide receivers that we can get here, but we'll see what we can do. Pull up the board. Forgot it's single year leagues for most everyone else. Yes, most of us are deep in the redraft streets, and it's very hard to go from best ball to redraft because the draft boards are very different. I don't know, sometimes I feel like they should be a little closer than they are, but they're not. They're a very different landscape. So all right, so Jalen Hurts is there, but Xavier Worthy at pick 44, we are simply not going to pass on that. So we've started the team with Bijan, A-Chain, and then MHJ and Worthy, and we'll see what comes back around to us. But yeah, like this team so far. Seems like a pretty good start. Again, apologies that no one was able to get in. I was hoping that I would hop in and see how many were free, but if I did a countdown and someone got in early, that means someone would have just gotten in the underflow. So I did that to save you all from the dreaded underflow room, which is a lot worse than not getting into a draft. Oh, Fanspeak Network coming in. Hey there, can't believe just a little more than a week of drafting, then start sweating our Scatabo shares. Meg, yes. First of all, if you don't follow Fanspeak, you absolutely should do so. But yes, Meg and Steve are two of the bigger of Scatabo Nation there, and it is going to be a sweat. I really want to see what that week one usage is. I'm so curious as to what kind of workload that he gets. Does he immediately jump into that goal line role, or are they still like worried about conditioning or anything like that? I don't know. I am really interested. I'm really interested to see what we're getting out of him, but I'm not worried. Whatever it is, if it ends up being more of a late season hammer, I am fine with that. It stinks that he got hurt because I think we would all be, pretty excited about it, but maybe it just lets us keep getting cheap Scatabo shares in the 120, which, hey, you know what? If people don't want to get on board, that is their prerogative. I think I would take Ken Walker here at 53 if he's there. If Ken Walker goes, then I would take Ridley. And I prefer Ridley though. I think I'm going to take Ridley here. I'm going to take Ridley over Walker. I'd be lying if I was saying I wasn't a little spooked by the Charbonnet talk, by the injury stuff. I'm really excited about Ridley. I like, I'm planning with this pick to either take Pacheco or Pollard. They go at pick 70, 71. I have Worthy and Ridley. So, taking Ridley gives me some optionality to build a team bet here with this pick at pick 68. If both of them go, then it just wasn't meant to be, but I'm hoping I get the choice of at least one of them. Redraft definitely softer. I find a fair amount of edge there. That's why I also play that. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's the people doing redraft have not been my friends. I mean, doing redraft have not been drafting best ball teams since late January. So they know what the fresh air smells like. They've touched grass. They've engaged in social pursuits. But you know what? They don't know how good. Well, I guess they do know how good Cam Scatabo could be because they took him from me. Greg says, big motor equals Jonathan Stewart. I mean, I feel like I don't know. I don't know, Greg. I don't know if in what sense you're making that comp. I assume you mean how it ultimately didn't work out for Stewart, but I am curious. I am curious there. Swish Sanders, what's the elite QB exposure looking like? Good question. Let me make this pick, and then I will tell you. I'll tell you right away. It's lower than I want it to be. It's definitely lower than I want. Jonathan Stewart, yeah, goal line specialist. Okay, yes. Yeah, because that was kind of like my recollection of him as well. All right, we'll take Tony Pollard here, and we'll build out a Titans stack completed. I don't want to auto picks here, but if I do 12 person, 25, this is going to include Rottweilers, but that's okay. So Josh Allen, 6.7, Hurts, 6, Daniels, 8, and Lamar, 7.5. So at or slightly below market on those. I do wish that was a little bit higher, but I'm not intentionally trying to fade them. I would like to get that up with some of my last drafts. I just haven't, I would have considered Lamar there, but it would have been tough for me. And I took Worthy over Hurts here, but I like the elite QBs. I think I wish I had taken them more when they were living over here, when you could have gotten Allen and Lamar in the 30s. I was taking them, so it's been harder for me to keep taking them. And so I wish I was overweight then, and now I was kind of more at market because I'm into the elite QBs for sure. But again, it's been hard for me to adjust to the new prices. Mahomes would be nice if we could get Mahomes and Worthy. I don't know if passing on Mahomes is worth any of these. If Mahomes goes, then maybe we would take Aaron Jones there. But I think I would be in on Mahomes. Let's see what this guy does. Yeah, let's take Mahomes. I was light on Mahomes, so I've been trying to catch that up. Obviously, would have been nicer had we gotten Pacheco, but Pacheco went instead of Pollard. So for the audio listeners, we've got Mahomes, Bijan, A-Chain, and Pollard, MHJ, Xavier Worthy, and Calvin Ridley here. I like the way this team's coming out so far. I got to say, I think it's a pretty nice start, and Mahomes to Worthy could be pretty good. Could be pretty good. Greg says, I just think Singletary is going to be involved early. Yeah, that's the question, Greg. Has Scatabo usurped that role, or are they going to give Singletary the carries? GM Hartman, thanks so much for coming in. Appreciate your support, and yeah, thanks again. Hold on, I missed some stuff. Yes. Sorry, I was. You're right about Jonathan Stewart there. I think I was hoping for a little more out of Scatabo than Jonathan Stewart. Ghost cards, best part September 4th. No more slow drafts. Hey, I am excited for Liberation Day for all you slow draft people, because I've got nothing but respect for you guys who are willing to grind those slows. I find I auto too many picks in slow draft, so I just don't like doing them. Okay, let's speak. Me too. Good week matchup versus Washington week 1. Yeah, I mean, I really hope he's out there. I really hope he's out there for this, because it is, like you said, it is a good matchup. Swiss Sanders, I've noticed several streamers in the same boat, not getting as much exposure as they'd like to elite QB. I'm probably overexposed TBH, a lot of Daniels. No, I think elite QB is really good. I mean, they are so strong during the playoff weeks where quarterbacks can separate. I think maybe it's part of it's with the 3 QB meta. Maybe kind of some of us are in the back of our minds say, well, it's hard to go 3 QB, justify going 3 QB with elite quarterback. Although I think it's perfectly defensible to do that. Yeah, I don't know. I probably, again, I wish that number were higher, but I'm happy that I don't have a big fade position though. Hawkinson's here a little past ADP. Jalen Warren's nice. I'm going to take a Michael Pittman share though. I think I can still figure out something at tight end, and I'm happy with Bijan, A-Chain, and Pollard. Let's get Pittman onto the team. I'm excited about Pittman with Daniel Jones. This also opens Daniel Jones as a potential third quarterback, because Kyler Murray just went, so that ends the possibility of that stack. Cam Ward is going to be a priority for this team, and I didn't really have a third potential quarterback lined up. And Daniels is only owned in about 40% of contests, so Daniel Jones is only owned in about 40% of the contests. So we'll see. He's certainly a dog to play all 17 games, or finish this season as the starter, but it's not completely out of the realm of possibilities. If Mark Andrews makes it back to me, I would take him. Let's queue up Charbonnet. Again, we did pass on Walker, so that would be kind of fun if we were able to bookend that. We do not. Charbonnet goes. I don't think I have a need for a quarterback. I don't really want to pull up Ingram or Loveland. I'm more than okay taking late tight end, so I don't want to force that. Godwin continues to fall. it seems like Mooney, we don't really have a good update on that, so I've cooled on that quite a bit, but tough to know. Cooper Kupp might be who we would take there. Shahid's interesting. Of course, I took him last draft. I'm pretty into that. Mark Andrews goes one pick ahead of us. J.K. Dobbins. We could take J.K. Dobbins. I think that makes a certain amount of sense here. So we'll get Dobbins. He of course is week 17 with Kansas City, but if we think that Dobbins is going to lose the job ultimately or lose more and more carries to Harvey, that's one thing. Peyton is very live to do some kind of rotation in Denver. I think Dobbins is going to be annoying in redraft, but might be really nice in best ball. He might have some, multiple touchdown kind of week. So we'll get him into the crew, especially as a fourth running back. I think that's perfectly fine there. A Dirty P says elite QB prices usually fall off towards the end of draft cycle. This year they're increasing. Hard to catch up on Allen and Lamar if you don't get picks in the top 6 draft slot. Yeah, I agree with that, Dirty P. They've been going on the left side of the board more and more. It used to be like hey, look at this fun idea I have. I'm going to take Chase Brown, or Jamar Chase with Lamar Jackson, and then take Zay Flowers at the 4-5 turn. And now that's pretty common. Like that used to be something that was like a unique idea. Now you see it all the time. Ghost Cards, not looking forward to my eliminator teams drop in half by week 1. Hey, I'm hoping you run hot. Go AZ Cards. I hope that you get 65% of your limbs through week 1, and you have some sweats late in the season. Dirty P says maybe we get great RNG, advanced 75%. Yeah, see, I said 65. I'm with Dirty P. Let's hope it's 75. Swiss Sanders, you're going to be hitting the BR streets heavy when they drop. I will play some. I can't say heavy. I don't know if I'm going to get, but I definitely, you know what? I'm probably going to do heavy. Like I'm just not going to be able to stop doing them once they come out. I love the format. It's super fun. So probably end up with more, maybe some more VRs than makes sense, than we really have the information for. I could potentially take Scatabo and then stop at 5 running backs. That would be interesting. Tucker Kraft, though, I do like. I don't have a tight end. It's possible Kraft comes to me because there's 2 tight ends out there. And, if Loveland doesn't go here, nobody there has a tight end. So you know what? We're going to live our truth. We're going to stop this team at 5 running backs. I tend to do a lot of 6 running back teams. Let's end this at 5. So we're going to probably try to do a 3-5-7-3 team. In this way, I'm not fishing for late round running backs like I normally do. Again, we're going to try to build a little differently, but still keep some of the core tenets of what we do here on this channel, which is draft cam, Scatabo. But yeah, BRs are going to be launching, and that should be a good time. So if I want to do another BBM, I would have to start now, and there's just too many picks for me to justify multi-tabling. So we'll probably stick to this one. Or the 1 quarter contests are 12-man, right? Like they're not shorter. We don't have any truncated mini best ball stuff in the lobby, right? I just want to make sure, because I guess I'll probably wrap it after this draft. But I was hoping to have something else going on today, but I just don't know if that's in the cards. So let's queue up Tucker Kraft. If Tucker Kraft goes, none of these QBs really make a ton of sense. Byshell Tootin is fun, but again, I don't know if we need a 6th running back on this team. Wide receiver has really gone off a cliff. My God. McCarthy, Herbert, Love. Again, I don't have any reason to take any of those guys. I really want Tucker Kraft. I really want Tucker Kraft. No! That's a little unfortunate. Man, it is so grim. It is so grim. You know what we're going to do? We're just going to take Cam Ward here. We're going to take Cam Ward well ahead of ADP, because if Cam Ward had gone, I think this would have really just fallen apart on me. So we'll take Cam Ward. We'll kind of punt off that pick. That was a little unfortunate. Maybe I could have taken Njoku, but I don't know. Something seems off. Like the fan in Steam is getting so steamy that I don't want to ignore that. I have enough Njoku to where I'm comfortable with that. And again, Would Cam Ward have been there at 140? Probably. But if he had gone early, I would really be feeling like this team had fallen apart on me. So, maybe the Scatabo pick is where we went wrong. But I think giving the optionality with some of these later picks is going to benefit us. But, opinions may, of course, vary. Their Dirty P says, to be fair, people pulling up Allen and Lamar at the 301 to avoid the Burrow rug pull are probably greatly contributing to the ADP spike. That's probably it. That's probably what it is it's like, we're all looking for the guy who did this, and it's like the Chase and the Higgins drafter. Where did Higgins go? Why am I... Right now I'm confused. Where did Higgins go in this draft? Oh, he went here. He went at 16. Oh my gosh, you don't see that too often. But yeah, you know what? I don't hate what L Stocks did. I've actually tried this and I've never quite got it to work right. But yeah, you take Higgins over on the right side of the board here, and then you get Burrow. You don't have to push Burrow as far. So that person was able to pull that off. I think that's something you can do to get a little different. I really don't mind that. And then you end up with like Higgins Henry, which is going to be very very uncommon. So that's actually something I think if you're interested in trying, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, see, if I had gotten Kraft, I could take Love and I would be feeling great about my team, and that's not what happened. That's not what happened, folks. But let's queue up Jake Ferguson and take him as our first tight end. I think that's fine. Nothing to write home about there, but I think the pick makes sense. And Ferguson as our first tight end is not the worst way to end up. Of course, this guy gets D Bagot 3 does get Jordan Love there, so he gets a Lovecraft stack at 124 and 141, which is really nice because you're getting that in the 10th and 11th round, not the 11th and 12th round. So he was able to pull off that push. Let's see what comes to us. Maybe now we can start taking some wide receivers because we're a little light on that front. Thinking about another quarterback for this team, it's looking more and more like Daniel Jones. Although if Penix comes to us, it's kind of hard for me to pass on Penix, being that I do have Bijan, and I think Mahomes, Ward, Penix is kind of a fun stack. Bryce Young, you can take him naked because he has some rushing upside. Should I maybe focus on Danny Dimes because he is unowned or much lower owned? I certainly think you can make the argument for that. I also think that Bretton Strange makes a ton of sense if we're going to go 3 tight end. Starting with Ferguson and Strange does, to me, catch us up a little bit. I really am high on Bretton Strange this year, but I don't know. I don't know about passing on Penix because I think Penix could be in for a pretty big year. We also have a Week 10 bye situation where if Danny Dimes might not be playing by Week 10, which is a little bit frightening. So not 100% sure how I want to do that. Tua, I could also take Tua and pair with A-Chain. So I think the plan will be Penix or Tua, depending on what this guy does. Here, he takes Kyle Williams. Let's just take Penix. Part of me was thinking I would take Tua because I could take Malik Washington as the back stack. But again, the odds of the Tua stack getting there without one of Tyreek or Waddle feels pretty thin. Like if A-Chain and Malik Washington are what you need, that's pretty sweet because that's going to be low owned. So if you want to do that, that's going to be a pretty rare combo. But we'll get Michael Penix on the team. I think again, my plan was to do Daniel Jones, but with the Week 10 bye stack, I think risking that zero feels a little bit risky there. Let me put some. Nope, I was going to put Bretton Strange in the queue, and he vanished from me. Let's see the tight ends we have left. Jig probably will be the priority, although again now Week 10 is going to be pretty grim for us, but hopefully we can get by with Michael Penix and friends. We will see. All right, let's see what happens. We'll pull the board up. You know what? It's 9:25. Let's hop in something else. I'm going to hop in a Rottweiler too because I don't want to run out of BBM bullets. And I think with how fast these are going, I think 35 minutes I can get it in. So I don't know. Maybe I should try to get in a BBM because this might not fill in this might not snap fill. But anyway, we're waiting for 5 and a Rottweiler. I will try to run this and then I'll hop off for ship chasing. I don't know. I don't think this is going to fill. All right. Let's see. We're 3 picks away here in more pressing matters. Of course, Tua is still here, but we're not going to go for quarterbacks as tempting as it is to do something truly off the wall. We're going to queue up Chig and Zach Ertz, I guess. I don't take a ton of Zach Ertz. Again, I think Thornton is going to keep falling with people worried about the Amari Cooper signing. Let's take Chig. Again, week 10 is going to be tough, so we're going to need somebody to fill that bye week. Let's see. I think that draft might have actually fired. No, it didn't fire. All right, I'm going to hop out of it because this is not going to work. And we'll try a BBM. We'll try to be a BBM. If you join this, in the immortal words of Davis Maddock, you don't need to draft well. You just need to draft quickly. We're waiting for 3 in that one. So I'm going to hop into that. That's now waiting for 2. And we'll try to get that one done. We'll try to get that one done in time there. All right, so Tua goes. And so what does this team need? We've got a 3-5-4-2. We definitely need 3 more wide receivers. We only have MHJ, Xavier Worthy, Calvin Ridley, and Michael Pittman. So we're going to have to figure something else out at wide receiver. And yeah, all right, let's see what's going on here. All right, waiting for one more in that BBM. Waiting for one more over there. If you would like to get in, if you do, I only ask that you draft quickly. Dirty Pete says, will be interesting to see if Chase is most stacked with Lamar or Burrow. I bet it's close. Interesting point there, Dirty P. I think it will be Burrow just because there's enough people who take him at the 4-5 turn. But I think you're probably right as far as who is going to be the second most popular stack there. All right, so the other BBM has fired. Let's queue up some fun picks. Let's queue up Isaac Tesla here. We're gonna swing for some fences here. If Tesla goes, we'll take Wandale. So let's get Tesla onto the team, and we'll go back to the other one. What pick do we have? Starting in 30 seconds, we have the 11 hole. All right, so that's kind of nice. We're near a turn, and we'll see what we can get over there. I will keep pace with that one. We'll wrap this one. And then we'll get on out of here so you can all get over to ship chasing who want to do that. So for the audio listeners, we've got a 3-5-5-2 with Mahomes, Cam Ward, Michael Penix, Bijan Robinson, Devon Achane, Tony Pollard, J.K. Dobbins, Cam Scatterbo at running back, MHJ, Xavier Worthy, Calvin Ridley, Michael Pittman, Isaac Tesla at receiver, and then Jake Ferguson and Chig Okonkwo at tight end. So, yep, like this team so far. Wish we maybe had a little bit better of a stacking option for Penix than just Mr. Bijan. But you know what? We're gonna do our best with that. We're gonna do our best with that. All right, waiting for. All right, we got 8 picks to go on there. So we'll see. This draft has actually been moving kind of slowly. We've got some people taking their full clock, which is a little bit unfortunate. But hey. You know, what can you do? What can you do? So priorities on this team, Io Menor would have been one. Maybe I should have taken Io Menor instead of Tesla because I have Cam Ward. That's okay. We will figure something else out. Troy Franklin goes. Again, another pick that maybe would have made more sense with the Kansas City bring back, but we're not doing that. We're taking other guys, and that's okay. Yeah, Ray McLeod. Like, I don't really think I want to force Ray McLeod as just a back stack. I don't know if that's really good process. Like, I think we're just going to try to take some good guys. So we're up over here in the 11 hole. We'll queue up neighbors. Yeah, let's just queue up receivers. We're going to go receiver in this draft. I'll take Nico Collins, and then I guess we'll take no. Let's start receiver. We'll queue up one of those 3. So we'll get one of Amon-Ra, BTJ, or Drake London there. And I want to see who we want to take over here in in this draft as we wind it down. I wouldn't mind some more Torrey Horton. Harold Fannin is still an option. Harold Fannin feels a little risky to fill in for the bye, but we got to think by week 10. If Harold Fannin is a thing, it should be by week 10. So let's take a big upside swing on that. If Fannin goes, then we will we can take some of these less exciting picks over on this side of the universe. All right, let me just pop back over to the other draft starting. We're one pick away there. I guess I autoed. So we're gonna take Harold Fannin. We're gonna take Harold Fannin, and then this team we got a 3-5-5-3. We're gonna wind this up with 2 more wide receivers. I'm gonna queue up a bunch of them. This may or may not be the order which we go in, but it will be some of the names if you're interested in guys that I'm willing to take late. This is a reasonable cross section of dudes there. All right, so let's pull up the other draft and see where we've ended up. It looks like that's this draft. That's this draft. All right, the other draft I don't pick for 15 picks, so we'll just wind it out on on this one. All right, let's see. It goes AZ Cards. If you could go back, what player would you draft? What player you would? Are you talking about in this draft or overall? Because if I could take back my Nick Westbrook-Ikeen and global swap him for Malik Washington, I would do that. I was taking a lot of NWI early in the offseason, despite saying that that's a pick I should have waited on, and I'd probably do the same with MVS for Torrey Horton. I took a ton of MVS. Kubiak brought him over. I thought he was going to have a role, and now he's like kind of on the roster bubble. So I don't know. If he's a guy that could get cut and wash up somewhere and be kind of annoying, because he's one of those like veteran receivers that coaches seem to like. But I just want to make sure I'm not about to pick. All right, yes, we're still 10 picks away over there. We'll take a boring Darius Slayton pick. I think he's perfectly fine. And we're 14 picks away, so we're gonna queue up see if there's anybody in the deep reaches here. Like Isaiah Bond is in the like deepest of the deep reaches, and like Tyquan Thornton. Like if we're picking those people, then things have gone really nuts. But we'll just queue them up so that we don't like auto McMillan, who's missing the first 8 weeks of the season. Sean Mitchell, GM, looking forward to chopping it up and talking ball later this afternoon, brother. Absolutely. Hey, I will be on Sean Mitchell's channel at 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern time. I will be drafting a puppy 4 with Sean. And Sean, I really appreciate you having me on. If you all don't follow Sean, you should. And you can catch me there in an afternoon appearance. So I'm pretty excited. And I should actually be back in my normal office. So I apologize. If you want to see the planets, you are this might be the last day of them. Beast Burf says, GM, great day to be drafting Ollie Gordon. Every day is a good day to draft Ollie Gordon. Although it feels not as great a day to be drafting Ollie Gordon, in the 14th round. But that's the world we're living in. So we've got Nico and Drake London. We'll keep playing the hits. I'm gonna keep taking Garrett Wilson. I'm sorry, guys. Like I know he's out of favor with the blind seals, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna take some Garrett Wilson and see if we can't dig out of a hole. You know what? No, this draft is more important. Whoever I get with my last pick there is like pretty irrelevant. James Cook. We might go James Cook. I'm a little light on Cook. I love Worthy. Get a ton of him. Terry McLaurin's going to be probably rising into the late 30s now that he's signed his contract, and we're not worried about that. George Kittle goes, let's get some Cook. I don't want to be like massively underweight on a guy who's just going to be on a team that scores a gorillion touchdown. So we've got Cook, Nico Collins, Drake London, and Garrett Wilson on this team. Let's pull over to the other draft. Wow. Let's wrap up this draft and see where we end up. So we've got Mahomes, Cam Ward, and Michael Penix, Bijan, Devon Achane, Tony Pollard, J.K. Dobbins, Cam Scatabo, wide receiver room of MHJ, Xavier Worthy, Calvin Ridley, Michael Pittman, Isaac Tesla, and Darius Slayton, and then Ferguson, Chig, and Fannin there. I don't know if I want AD Mitchell and Pittman, although maybe that's exactly what I do want. Let's take let's take an AD Mitchell share. We'll take the shot on him. He's kind of, he's free. We'll build out a little more of a bet on the Colts, but we won't be reliant on, picking the Colts quarterback, especially we've got Mahomes, Ward, and Penix. There's a reasonable enough chance that one of those Indy pass catchers get there and you don't need the quarterback. And if the Indy pass catchers don't get there, it might be because the Indy quarterback has run and we don't have him. We don't have him, and we're never going to have him on this team. So we're going to make the bet on the Colts double stack and say that, they behaved like a normal pocket passer in this instance. So that'll wrap up that team. Let's get over to the other one. And again, we are going to be trying to draft quickly when we're on the clock to get us out of here by 10 so that you all can watch Ship Chasing when that goes. Every day is a great day to draft Cam Scatabo. Hard agree, Sean Mitchell. You are one of these Scatabo truthers with me, and I love being in this group. I'm so giddy for week one, and I am going to just be absolutely heartbroken when I see Devin Singletary out there at all. But we'll see. We're going to tell ourselves that this is our year, in that we truly did draft the goal line back with pass catching upside, who's going to usurp Tyrone Tracy by the end of the year. Hartman asking, are the Jets bad vibes a generational buy opportunity? Yeah. Again, for me, preseason production, I don't care about. Usage, I do. And so I don't care if the Jets aren't moving the ball in preseason. That's not a concern in the slightest. Not worried about that. If that burns me, that burns me. I would be much more worried if there was some, exciting rookie breathing down the neck of Justin Fields, or they hadn't have just extended Garrett Wilson. He's going to be happy. He's playing with his college quarterback. They're going to be fine. I'm just not worried about that. 30P says, Hartman, if they aren't, I'm going to be hurting a bit. 12 to 15% across the board on the Jets. Jets. Yeah. We're all taking some of those pieces, whether you think Breece Hall is undervalued, whether you like Braylon Allen. There's usually, everyone typically has one Jets piece that they're kind of high on. For me, it's the battery of Wilson and Fields, and then to a lesser extent Braylon Allen. I have quite a bit of Braylon Allen, but he's just so cheap that if that bet goes south, whatever, you're not gonna not cash things because you got Braylon Allen wrong. Hartman says at Dirty P, pretty much the same, except Garrett only at 10 to 11. Yeah, but it's also hard to get overweight on Garrett Wilson. It means you're passing on a lot of good guys for that. Greg says, this is how I feel about Monungai. So stoked. Well, I hope you get there with Monungai. I'm with you there, because I have plenty of Monungai shares. I think we need a running back more than we need a receiver here. Let's just take Chuba Hubbard. That seems fine. And then, we could take an exciting Matthew Golden type or a Rome Odunze. That seems kind of intriguing. James Conner, though, is a little more meat and potatoes. Might make sense. Might make sense for us to not have to worry about running back in the 80s. Let me see what receivers, though. We might be receiver. That's pretty gross there too. So let's take a receiver here. Let's take a receiver and figure out which one we want. I think it might just be, let's just take Ricky Pearsall. I don't want to be light on Ricky Pearsall. That seems good. Let's do that. So for the audio listeners, we've got James Cook, Chuba Hubbard, and a wide receiver room of Nico Collins, Drake London, Garrett Wilson, and Ricky Pearsall. I also like Pearsall. His ADP lines up roughly with Purdy here, so we could look at Purdy at 107, but this side of the board tends to be dodging the Kittle drafter. So we'll see if the Kittle drafter wants him. He'll get the first crack, but if not, maybe that's something we look to add at that point on the board. Fantasy Football Garage of immortality on Fanspeak Network's Best Ball Jeopardy. A just legendary run over there. Congratulations to you, Fantasy Football Garage, and thanks so much for coming in and hanging out with us today. Steve Schaup, how's it going? It's going great. We're one day closer to NFL kickoff, and we're winding through this BBM, hoping to get everyone out of here by 10. I think we're pacing well for this. I think this one is cruising along. So, hopefully we don't run into too many auto drafters. But Yeah, no problem. I had a pretty heavy wager on PPR Tyler, so I might need to win VBM to make it all back. There was a big underground betting ring on the on fantasy uh, best ball Jeopardy. So I am kidding, of course, but I am stoked for you. That was a legendary run. Swiss Sanders asks, "What did you think about the Best Ball Pros video?" I cannot believe how much work Pete put into that video. I mean, there is a reason that he is going to be on YouTube on the panel with you know Cam Newton and co. Like he is works so hard on this, and that was the most hilarious video. Put so much effort into such a niche. Like, this is a niche of a niche, this best ball community, and he put his heart and soul into that video to like make us laugh, and I appreciate that so much. I thought that video was absolutely, was incredible. And I've had I'm just a I'm just a slappy in my head, a slappy drafter in my head. Like, since then, it's been a real earworm there. Dirty P says, "My new 18th round crush is starting IR with a shoulder. Phil Bad Maffa." Oh man, I don't know. I have a lot of Miles Sanders, so I'm upset because I do like Maffa Nation. Like, I feel like there's a contingent of Phil Maffa people, and you're all like really nice folks. But like, I kind of need Miles Sanders to get there. It feels bad. Yeah, I like Maffa. I mean, he's a big boy and he runs hard. Also, by the way, I haven't asked for this. It's 112. Wow, it's an hour and 12 minutes into the stream. I did not hold the room hostage for likes. If you could like the video, if you could sub, it would mean a ton to me. My goal was 200 subs before football season. I don't think we're gonna get there, but if we get close, I would be happy. So if you could, hit the like, hit the sub, that would really make my day over here. Goes Cards, more painful not making BBM finals or making the finals with the non-Scatabo team when he goes for 50. I'll be so happy if I make the finals this year. I had 5 semis teams last year, and they all they didn't even get close. I think my best semis team got like 4th place or 5th place. Like, I didn't really even feel like I had a sweat in week 16, which kind of sucked. So I would take the sweat, and if the Scatabros get there, I'll be happy. That's what I'd have to say on that. I would be okay with that run out for sure. Let's see. We don't have any reason to take Mahomes on this team. A lot of kind of similar running back options. Let's take Aaron Jones. I think taking Mason ahead of Jones is a little bit of a lesson in shark jumping. Although, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take Hawkinson, and then we're going to take one of Jones or Mason, and we're going to build a bet on the Vikings. If this guy double taps Jones and Mason, he fair play to him. He will have earned it, and then we'll just take Jalen Warren in that case. But I think this is kind of a fun way to build a bet on the Vikings offense here, assuming we do get one of these pieces, which we were not guaranteed, but we'll try that. We'll try that over here. Thinking ahead, I would love a Purdy Fields double tap on this thing. So this guy takes Mason ahead of Jones. I think that's, again, I called it shark jumping, and now I'm about to say I think it's defensible. I think it's borderline. I think it's getting a little too cute. Like, we forget just how good Aaron Jones is. It's mostly been injury related when he falls off. Obviously, Mason appears to have the goal line back, but Jones, pretty explosive player. He could be one of those guys that becomes more efficient on fewer touches. With a slightly lighter workload there. They're going to run the ball a ton in Minnesota. So I think they're both fantastic picks. And, this does open JJ McCarthy a little more, because I think Jones is obviously more live to catch passes than Mason. Although, they are saying they want to get Mason more involved in the pass catching game. Yeah, it was insane. I know. He is just absolutely legendary run. Ryder, GM to you. Thanks so much for coming in. True life. I'm addicted to best ball. Well, you're in the right place, Ryder. You're in the right place. You're in the early morning stream with all of us do this because we love this game and this community. So Ryder, thanks so much for coming in and hanging out. ATX Bearcat, one of us. Yeah. Again, Ryder, you have found your people. Steve says Jones has always been a better in best ball back. He will go for 25 one game than 7 points in the next 3. Yep. And I like how better in best ball was a thing like 4 years ago. and then it became disfavored. But it's actually kind of true. There are players who legitimately are better in best ball, but it feels like if you say that, people kind of like scoff at you. But I think it's a concept we need to bring back, Steve. I think it's a real thing. Greg says, Chris Rod is my new favorite late round running back. JD doesn't have the frame for designed goal line runs. Yeah, I like Chris Rod. I think he's a fine pick. I mean, my fear is that the answer to the running back in Washington is like none of them are great picks. Like they all have a few spike weeks, but like with Daniels, Eckler, Krosky, Merritt, and C-Rod all being draftable, all are going to be taking carries. Like it's pretty crowded. Like we really need that offense to be like good, like top 5 in the league good. And I think we're projecting that. But if the offense isn't, quite up to scratch, if Daniel sees any kind of sophomore regression, like nobody's even suggested that he could, like we saw Herbert wasn't quite as good, his sophomore year. Like it happens with these quarterbacks. Like there are growing pains in the NFL. Teams get more tape on guys. I'm not trying to say that about Daniels. I love Jaden Daniels. But these things can not go as perfectly as we want. So we're drafting a lot of the ground game in Washington, and there is a chance that it doesn't go 100% according to plan. All right. Let's see. I just a breaking news from Joel: Deontay Johnson being cut. Couldn't have seen that coming. Well, I know there was a Deontay Johnson truthers out there who were pretty in on that. So I can't say that I drafted much Deontay Johnson. I think I took him a couple times, but I never felt great doing it. This guy is the Kittle drafter, so we probably won't get May. So we're gonna need another plan in the queue. Oh, so he does pass. All right, let's take Brock Purdy here. Justin Fields went earlier. We will get Purdy and Pearsall. Fields is gone. Penix and Stroud are potential options later on. I could just take JJ McCarthy here because JJ McCarthy goes at 124 and he would have to survive the Addison and Jefferson drafter. Quick check. The Jefferson drafter has a quarterback, but it's only Baker, so it's not like they took elite. The Addison drafter only has Justin Fields and doesn't really have a good second option. So I am tempted to just take McCarthy and move on this team. I don't know if it's worth Kirk is of course interesting. If I took Kirk, then I could take Stroud with my next pick. And part of me thinks we do that. Let's do that because Stroud should come back to me if I do take Kirk here. And in this way, I feel pretty into my wide receiver room. So let's push QB. If we don't get McCarthy, I think that's fine. There. All right. Swiss Sanders. I see your second highest QB is Tua. Do you have more Tyreek or Waddle or do you have Waller? I don't have very much Waller. I think I have slightly more Tyreek than Waddle, but I think I'm like weirdly spaced out. I don't really know why my Tua exposure is so high, to be honest with you, because I'm not super overweight on either of those receivers. But I do. Maybe I think I tell myself Tua A-chain is a thing and end up doing that. I also have very early Jonnu Tua stacks, which are no longer stacks. And so I have a lot of like one-offs, and it just ended up like I have a lot of Tua skinnies. And so I think it just ended up being like way too much Tua there. Goes AZ Cards. Enjoy watching the stream in the morning. What got you into streaming? Honestly, I've always been one who learns better by talking. Like when I was in school, I tended to tutor, and I found it really helped me. Like if I could explain a concept to someone else, then I understood it. And with streaming, if I can't defend a pick or say why I take them or it doesn't make sense, then like maybe it's a bad pick. And I'm going to make plenty of bad picks. That's fine. But I do think it helps me learn my process. And so I don't know. I've always just I've enjoyed this, and I really like hanging out with all of you. So I just for the love of the game is the short answer on that. Steven WC23. Hey, GM to you. Thanks so much for coming in and hanging out. I think we're gonna be close. This might bleed over 10, unfortunately. I really want it to be done by 10, but we've kind of bogged down a little bit in the midsection of this draft, but we'll try to pick quick. Make sure to hit the like. I forgot. Hey, Best Ball Call, thanks so much, and thanks for reminding the chat on the like. Steve famously not in on Deontay there. Steve says, what have been your favorite 2 to 3 tournaments to draft outside the flagship BBM Sprint? For me, Badge Bros Brawl is like one head and shoulders above the rest. I love the format. I think it's a really cool game. It also lets me indulge my inner gritty and take like double elite QB, because I think that's actually how you win that contest. But the elites won't tell you that. After that, I actually really like the Rottweiler that's open, though, because it's also a $25 price point, but it's a 5 max. I think that's pretty fun, but I guess the advance rate's not quite as friendly on that. I don't know. I can't remember which is the one that was is it the Husky that's like a 3 of 12 to start with, or a 4 of 12? I like the one that starts out 4 of 12. But I get all my dog breeds confused, Steve. That's where I'm at there. Swish Sanders, I find that people tend to draft more of the players of the team they're a fan of, even if they're not necessarily biased, still good picks. Yeah, for me though, I'm just like, I'm a Dolphins fan, but I'm also like, just assume everything's going to go tragically wrong for the Dolphins. So I don't know if that's how I draft. I'd have to say, I just, as a Dolphins fan, I assume everything is going to go south. So I don't think I do that. I maybe with Scatabo, because I'm an ASU fan, but again, I'm not a big Ayuk guy. We've had a few, Brock Osweiler, I didn't think he was good, and he was like hyped coming in, and teams were like talking about trading for him. He wasn't. I knew he was terrible. The Dolphins took Hogan years ago, and people were like patting me on the back. I'm like, this guy stinks. Like, I'm not excited about taking him. So I'm not just like blindly taking guys I'm a fan of, but maybe with Scatabo, I'm guilty of it. You can just know more about the team and bring optimism. Davis with the Chiefs and Pat with Drake May. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Davis is good at zooming out on the chart a little bit. So for the audio listeners, we took Stroud and Penix at the turn. We were able to stack Stroud with Nico and Kirk. We were able to stack Penix with Drake London. So for the audio listeners, we've got a 3-3-5-1 with Purdy, Stroud, and Penix. We got James Cook, Chuba Hubbard, Aaron Jones, wide receiver room of Nico Collins, Lad McConkey, Garrett Wilson, Ricky Pearsall, and Christian Kirk, and then TJ Hawkinson at tight end. So, you could certainly argue that Penix should have been a skill position player, that we're using too much draft capital on QB. But I kind of like, having these three stacks, including a Houston double. I'm kind of into that. I think we can make it up with some of these late round clicks and really lock in there. Dirty P asking, is the Amari Cooper thing sign and retire job bad move by Las Vegas? If it's not, seems to have Jacoby pretty disgruntled. That's a good point, Dirty P. I don't know if Myers was like, I don't know how much the teams communicate internally. Like, I don't know if the Myers discontent was like knowing that they were going to bring in Cooper or not. That's a good question. I don't know what to make of that. I saw someone projecting like quite a bit of 600 plus yards for Cooper this year, and to me, I can't imagine them drafting 2 rookies and then bringing in a veteran and then having the veteran usurp that many targets from the younger players, let alone Bowers and Myers and and Genty. Like, I have a really hard time seeing them do that, but teams do weird stuff all the time, so I don't know. Steve says, yeah, Husky was 3 of 12 Dalmatian. Yeah, I like the 4 of 12. I guess the price point on the Dalmatian, $100 is pretty high, but I do think that was one of the better formats. Swish thinks that is the way it goes too. I think you were referencing the Myers stuff. Chad brings my Dolphin fandom down to earth every morning. Sorry, Greg. Sorry. There's a reason you have the Dolphin in your avatar, because you are, you are there, glass half full, and I have already drank the glass, and it's full of whiskey and tears. Swish Sanders, I'm a Seahawks fan. I'm not optimistic about the passing game, but still taking good amounts of JSN. Well, Swish, what is your feeling on the Torrey Horton situation? I am curious from a Seahawks boots on the ground, because I take him a little bit now at the end of drafts, and I am curious about about that. Ghost cards, if you could pick your drafting spots, high stakes, single entry, what would it be? Probably the 6. Probably the 6 because I love CMC, and I think I could get him there. In the middle of the board, you have the best chance of grabbing fallers. I mean, maybe the 5. But if I don't get CMC and I get one of, Gibbs or Blam or Bijan, I'm fine with that too. So I would say that. For me, I just pushed Jefferson to the 7, but if I got Jefferson at 7, I'd be fine. But my preference is CMC there. All right, let's see. We probably need a running back, and Tyler Algier would be perfect with Penix on this team. So let's take Tyler Algier, a little contingent upside play there. Nick Chubb, unfortunately, I think has become a good pick, but Ollie Gordon is way more fun than Nick Chubb. I don't know, guys. It's gonna be hard for me to take Nick Chubb ahead of Ollie Gordon, but maybe that's the more mature thing to do with this Houston bet. It does feel like the vibe on Mixon is in complete and utter ruin here. But that said, I think Chubb is going to get like quite a bit of work early in the year. So let's take Chubb. Let's take Nick Chubb. I don't want to be completely out on that running game in Houston. And again, we've got a Stroud double, so we're building out a bet on a bet on Houston here. So at the turn, we took Algier and Chubb. Steve says it's another 2 of 12, but I do like the Pitbull $20 good advance rate structure, quarter and semi, and 100K up top. Yes. Yeah, Steven, that's my other issue is I couldn't remember what the prizes up top are. It is really nice to play for 6 figures. And again, that's another reason why I like the Badge Bros Brawl. It's pretty sweet that's 100K up top in that tournament. And 150 max, like you could just keep firing that one, and you could do it when you only had 15-20 minutes, which I really like. Beastburf says that's because Davis isn't a true Chiefs fan. Well, he moved to Kansas City. He saw the writing on the wall. I get it. I'm willing to, I understand how that goes. Although, I will simply never give up being a Dolphins fan, even if, I live in Baltimore, and so being a Ravens fan would be a lot better. But I root for the Ravens if they're not playing the Dolphins, but certainly consider myself a Dolphins fan above that. Darkside Dev, I love the Ravens, but never pick Lamar. I'm ashamed of it. I just hate elite QB this year. Interesting, Darkside Dev. We were talking about that earlier. And first of all, thanks for coming in and hanging out. Yeah, my exposures are all slightly below 8%, but I think that's just been a function of the it being harder for me to click on them. Kind of in my head, they're 3-4 turn guys, and now they're 2-3 turn guys. So it's just been a little more difficult for me to get those guys. Famous last words. Yeah, it can just bake you in the playoff weeks. I'm with you, Chad. God, there's so many options, but can't keep up with the breeds and what contests they prep. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, and it's like there's some correlation between dog size and the tournament, but like it's maybe some of that goes above my head. Swiss Sanders said, so I've been a fan of Horton since he was balling at CSU. I'm scared about his injury history and the rumors he was considering medical retirement before the draft. Oh God. But all the reports said he was wheels up, and the Seahawks took him. Thought he was a phenomenal pick with the team moving on from DK. I think Torrey will be great. Yeah, that's a good synopsis there. I'm definitely been mixing him in late. Wish I had been mixing him in more, and wish I had never taken MVS, because that's rough. This is a 1Q. Week 17 is all that matters. Ollie was the pick, not Chubb. Oh no, the chat in full reverse, in full revolt. I am the KY bold. I wouldn't take Chubb over Damian, let alone Ollie. Well, let the booze rain down. I actually have like almost no Nick Chubb, and maybe that would have I don't know. I feel like there's a chance that teams like fall in love with running backs. It seems like Chubb is going to get the first crack at it. Maybe the rotation is enough to keep him fresh to where he just keeps grinding on. I certainly had been taking a lot of Woody Marks. I am Damian Pierce curious, but the word has been conflicting on like whether he's been held out because he was hurt or what. And like, so he's anywhere from like the running back you want to he's getting cut today. And I don't know where I don't know where I fall on that. I truly don't know where I fall on that. This is likely to be a 3-6-6-3 team. I think, with Nick Chubb as my running back 5, if I stopped there, you all would go into true revolt at that point. Will Shipley, I think Will Shipley is just a darn good pick here. We could take Torrey Horton Okay. I was going to push Shipley and say I'll either take Shipley or Mitchell, but with Mitchell going, let's take Shipley on the team. We're going to take another couple of running backs and get on out of here. All right. Swiss. Hey, Ball is Life. FF, GM. Thanks so much for coming in and hanging out with us this morning. Really appreciate you seeing you around here. Steve says, I think it's Chubb and Pierce in Houston. I can't get behind Marks. For me, it's because they traded up to get Marks, so they must like him, right? Like they must like him to some degree. Thielen's would be interesting if I had gotten McCarthy, because there's a chance that actually would be a stack getting Thielen on this team, but we didn't get McCarthy, so let's add Torrey Horton. We'll swing for some upside after taking Nick Chubb. Let's take a pick that's a little more fun for the people there, and then we'll wrap up with two tight ends and then get on out of here. All right, Swiss says IDK man, coaches quote never be more bearish on Chubb. Yeah, he's had a really great career. We love having him around. It's like, oh yeah, players get old. Like, is that it's like players get old? Yeah, not great, Swiss Sanders. But we'll I don't know if my stream is dying on me. Don't think he's even ahead of Dare. Yeah, that is certainly possible. Steve. I don't know. Yeah, I've cooled on Marks, though. I don't really take much Marks anymore. So I'm trying to mix in some of the other guys. Yeah, Dare is the sharp pick. I don't think Steve is suggesting to take Dare, because if you ever roster Dare in anything, he doesn't really do much. But yeah, goes cards. If you took Scatabo, you wouldn't have needed Chubb. Problem solved. And we probably could have stopped at 5 running backs. I'm gonna queue up a bunch of tight ends here, and then get on out. Again, I appreciate you all coming in and hanging out this morning. It means a ton. Having so much fun doing this. I'll be on tomorrow. If you haven't subbed, hit the sub on the way out. We're on the road to 200. Hopefully we can get us there. It looks like Fannon's already gone, huh? Fannon's already gone. These are the days of our lives here. All right, and then we'll take one more real dust ball if we have to, but I don't think we're going to get that low, picking from the right side of the board. All right, I'll pull the board up so people can see what's going on. Chubb could also be the best running back on the roster anyway. It's possible. It is possible. Steve says, yeah, I wouldn't take Dare. I think he'll get some of the third down work. Chubb and Pierce taking early down work, and Fannin is flying up. He sure is. Actually, Prob not the worst with Flacco locked in as well. Yeah, no, I like Fannin. I think the Fannin steam is real, and we should absolutely be taking him. Hartman asked, are you taking Arroyo or Ferguson at all? No, I've cooled on Arroyo a lot. I think Barner is well ahead of him, and they even have another guy that was working in. I think there's just a better tight end bets. Maybe Arroyo by the end of the season's okay, but I'm a little skeeved out by the Arroyo stuff. Good stream. Good luck in the draft shoots, everyone. Yes, again, thank you all. I will be shutting this down as soon as I make these picks and heading over to watch Ship Chasing. Appreciate everybody's support. So much fun hanging out. I think we drafted 3 fun teams on this one. Sean Tucker, Malik Washington. And again, we've got Jonnu, Theo, Juwan Johnson, and Michael Mayer. So hopefully we get 2 out of 3 of those. If not, I got to click some other names that I'm not excited about. Firemuth can get in there, but I would much rather have Jonnu, and why not AJ Barner in the queue. Yeah, that's the problem. People at the end of the draft just put people in the queue and walk away and don't push the plane and drag it out at the end. There goes Jonnu. I think Theo Johnson's probably a perfectly reasonable click. Let's take Theo Johnson here, and we could try to just end this with Johnson and Johnson, but again, all right, again, for the audio listeners, we've got a 3-6-6-2, Purdy, Stroud, Penix, and then James Cook, Chuba Hubbard, Aaron Jones, Tyler Algier, Nick Chubb, Will Shipley, and then Nico Collins, Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Ricky Pearsall, Christian Kirk, Torrey Horton, and then TJ Hawkinson, Theo Johnson, and probably Juwan Johnson, but we will see. winding the clock down all the way to 00. Waste a minute of everybody's time, and he takes... Who does he take? He takes Jackson Dart. All right, we'll take Juwan Johnson, and that will do it, everyone. Thanks so much for hanging out, and I'll see you all again tomorrow. Take care, everyone.